The lower bearing's been fitted, all greased up. What else we got? We've got the new races, the outer bearing races pressed in. So we'll put this this guy back in. So that's all been Cerakoted. Looks mint. So that's going to make the bike look a lot better than that flaky old paint it had on there before, or the clear lacquer. So that's what we're going to do now, put these guys in. The colour of the Cerakote in the stainless steel looks pretty good on the bike. Was a bit unsure at the start, but when we put it on and it was all baked up, it looked mint. So a bit of contrast to the polished frame that it's going to have and the gold forks. I'll have to chase up a nicer nut too. This is horrible, this thing. So the forks are back in. Looks really nice. Blends in good. Got to get a couple of fresh bolts for the top clamp. Sort this ugly nut out because that's the main thing that we're going to be staring at. But no, really happy with that colour. And it's actually, if you know, as it dirties up a little bit, it's actually quite good. Like it blends in better. That's what we got. So get some more bolts, slide my clip-ons on, and get it rolling again. I've just given the triple clamp bolts a quick blast with the ceramic black paint. It's not a bad colour, and we'll just see how it looks, and up the track I might see if I can replace them for new ones or get them recoated with something, but for today I'm just gonna use the old black paint. So there's my front end. Head stem bearings done, frame's painted at the front, all Cerakoted, not too bad. I'll sort this nut out later when I find something a bit nicer and make a bit more of a better idea what to do there. But no, came out pretty nice really. There you go. I've scraped off all the flaky stuff and gave the ignition switch a quick sand, so I'll put some paint on that and I'll put him on. They come out quite good. It takes a long time to do all the fiddly bits, but I think it's worth it in the end. If I bolted that back on with that flaky paint, it'd always be in the back of my head. So that's all done now. So I bought my stand in from the shop. Yeah, we'll lift her up, throw the wheel in it and get it sitting back on the ground where it belongs. So it's back on the ground. Definitely looks way better than before. Like we said, we're going to change that nut out. That's not real. But basically, yeah, all the colours blend in nice, and awesome upgrade for the front end. Got my front guard back on. Going to put the gauge support and headlight mounting bracket back together, put him on the bike, and then basically go over here and start to clean up and reassemble all my gauges, make them all nice and clean, and put the cluster of gauges back on. So that's today's job. So by the end of it I should be able to look back onto all the gauges and we'll be a lot more complete up the front here. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, brackets on. Colour blends in pretty good too. Like that's powder coated and that's just, you know, rattle can black. So up the front under the fairings she's going to look pretty sweet. Might as well bolt this on now too, just to get it off the bench. This was chromed probably 15 years ago and it still looks brand new. And compared to the rest of the bike that had just destroyed itself just with corrosion, this had like rust on it, which just come off with the bicarb blaster. And yeah, there's no pitting. It's like perfect. Must have been a good chrome job back in the day. K&D chrome platers in Perth. Here's the gauge bracket that's all been powder coated. Looks really nice. So the go is to transfer and clean all this stuff and get it onto that new bracket and make it look nice. So here we go. So I've got two tacos to choose from. I cleaned the first one up. It looks really good, but I can see a slight little blemish in the glass down the bottom here now that I've cleaned it. So I'll get the other guy all cleaned up, get all this melted rubber stuff off it. It was on my other gauge as well, and polish the glass up, clean all the back of it up, and I think that's the one that I'll be using. The gauge came out really nice. I cleaned it all up with a bit of WD-40, get all the plastic clean and the wiring harness, and then just use some of this Canubra wax on the glass and the bezel. Looks really good. Right, I'll pick the temp gauge now. It's a pretty easy choice which temp gauge to use, because this one's dirty and whatnot, like they all are, but this one's got a bit of a dent in it, so I'll clean up my mate here and I'll use this gauge. The temp gauge come out pretty good. Now I'll move on to the indicator warning lights and high beam and whatnot, this thing over here, and see which one of these guys is best, and yeah, clean that up. I cleaned up this oil turn neutral high beam indicator block that I'm going to use, and I use this Tessa loom tape, which is awesome. Just finished off the loom, really nice, sticks onto anything. And this is the other one that I'm not using, and that's what it looks like standard. So I just ran a quick pass over the old one and it hid all this ugly stuff. I cleaned mine first obviously, but yeah, it's really good. It's the stuff there that you need. Okay, that part's mounted. That's the best of these dash rubbers that I have. They I don't know, the heat just seems to make them all rot apart, but this one's okay. And I've done the loom tape wrap on this as well, so I'll fit all that into the dash bracket now. So the gauges are all fitted back in there. Looks really good. I've got to fit the GPS Speedo in there now because I'm running that different front wheel with no Speedo drive. That's the next thing I've got to fit, to get that guy in there. With the GPS Speedo, I've hit my first hurdle, which is the antenna, the aerial. That guy there screws on with the nut, that nut there, onto this little point here, which is directly in line with this bracket. So looks like I have to pull it apart, or I'll probably even tape it all up and see if I can hacksaw it off without putting metal filings through everything that I've just cleaned up. Oh well, doesn't matter. Here we go. Okay, so it's all apart once again. I'll cut that piece out and reassemble it. I just sat it on the bottom of the plastic rubbish bin, and then I put the tape where the sparks were going to go, so I didn't want all that rusty, well, you know, that hot metal sticking into the powder coat. So that all worked pretty good, so I chopped it out. I'll clean her up and put him back together. So I've mounted that gauge, I've reassembled the whole cluster, chopped that piece out so that the antenna can fit. Only thing I'm going to do different is I'm going to pop this gauge back out when the shop's open Monday and put an O-ring under there to give the GPS Speedo some dampening between the bracket. But other than that, it all worked out pretty good, pretty easy too. I'll mount this guy up later when it's back on the bike, but very good. Here's the ignition barrel that I painted. I'll fit that up now and put the gauges on. So that's the Speedo and dash and whatnot all mounted and done. I would have liked to keep the original Speedo because, you know, it just looks better than this one, but it's just not possible for me to do it. So after this, I'll work out what I'm going to mount the GPS Speedo antenna to, or how that all works. Haven't even read the instructions yet. Yeah, so that'll probably be the next job I tackle, but they come out great. Look really good. much better than what I started with, which is, you know, this sort of stuff. So happy camper.